We Get Outdoors Nation. It's a privilege for me today to bring a brother from another mother or a brother that I've never met into the podcast. Today we've got the head coach of Southern Illinois University football, Mr. Nick Hill. And what really attracted me to Nick to come on the podcast is that Nick does the same as I do. He's a high-performance sports coach. It is a full-time job. And yet every possible moment that he gets, I think, Nick, you spend outside, hey?
That's correct.
Hey, so welcome to the podcast, Nick. What are your earliest memories?
I appreciate you having me on.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
What's your earliest memories in the outdoors?
Yeah, first, I appreciate you having me on. I was excited to get the email and you guys invite me on here. And so, my earliest memories are really of that. My fondest memories of my time with my dad, where it was, going hunting or fishing with him outside. We had a cabin, like I was talking to you a little bit before we started recording, is in 1990, whenever I was 5, my dad bought a piece of property in our hometown, 250 acres of land. And so that's just been the norm to me, is to be outside and to be doing something, whether it's whatever season is there's something to do. And so just growing up with my dad and then me just getting the itch to want to do it, it continued once I got my driver's license. I was always looking to, take the boat somewhere or go hunting. I've got a passion I love to hunt whitetails. And then we also have a piece of property here that you can do a lot of waterfowl hunting and get outside and go after the ducks. And but really whatever it is, I enjoy. I enjoy getting out and just going on a hike, getting outside. I love to run. And so I like to trail run. I like to get out and go in new places and check out new places and couple that with exercise. And it's just, when you look back on things and where I'm at my happiest moments is when I'm outside, enjoying the outside with good people that enjoy to do that as well. And it just doesn't get any better.
Yeah. On the subject of running, when I was doing my research, I see you went and did a mountain run with Cam Haines and Truett Haines. Like, are those boys as fit as they look?
They are. Yeah. I'm glad that they were kind enough to slow down for me and let me keep up. But no, they're incredible. I reached out to them, they're here and they obviously are incredible. Cam's an incredible hunter and in the mountains and elk hunting and archery and, I'm in a position where a lot of people are always wanting to do that football wise, but it was more me just being a fan of his. And I was out there meeting with the University of Oregon football staff and just that's where he's from, is in Eugene. And so I just hit him up and he was like, yeah, let's do it. And so, it was a good moment. It was a tough run. It was like almost 10 miles up and down that mountain. And so it was tough, but it was fun for me just as a fan of, and now following Cam and then Truett and they're incredible people.
They are. Are you tempted to go and get any of your football boys and go and take them for like a training day or two with Cam?
If it wasn't too far, I mean, that's a long way. Travel out there, a long way away. But no, we do that. We're blessed here in Southern Illinois. We have the Shawnee National Forest that's 10 miles south of here. We've taken our entire team on a hike out there and so we try to do a lot of that. Our campus is beautiful. It has a big campus lake and there's a trail running all through it. There's a big woods that goes through it. So our team, we get them outdoors as much as we can.
So how did you, as a kid, bring together the world? I see you were a quarterback, and yet you're the fishing, hunting, hiking guy at the same time. And stereotypically, those two things often aren't the same in terms of people types. How did you blend those together?
Yeah, I don't know. I've just always been, do what makes you happy, as far as, it was natural to me I loved growing up. I love sports, and I loved, I played all the sports growing up. If there was a ball involved, I loved to do it. And then, I loved being outdoors. I loved as a hobby. I feel like, and then now, especially as I continue to go, I mean, you probably the same way. People that haven't experienced that or enjoy the outdoors, it's tough. I mean, I feel like for the, your mind and your body and just to be healthy, and I think it's helped me as a competitor or as a coach, is that, I feel like I read this book, Stillness is a Key, during quarantine. And, you got to have some solitude. You have to have some time to just get out in the nature that God has blessed us with, and just have time to yourself. I mean, everybody's consumed with cell phones, and your mind's always racing. And it's amazing what just, maybe it's a short hike or whatever if you can find some time to just get outside, get in the woods, get on fishing, and just what it'll do. I mean, regardless if you're out being successful or not, whether you're out hunting and you don't do any good, it doesn't matter. I mean, those sunsets and the watching the sun come up from the tree stand, I mean, it just doesn't get any better. It makes me a better coach. It clears my mind. The amount of work that I can do going out and just going hunting by myself, just thinking and having a clear mind and having no distractions, I'm better. And it was the same way whenever I played. I mean, you've got to find some things that you truly enjoy to do outside, some hobbies. And that's just been the two things that have always made me the most happy. And so I'm blessed to be able to have that opportunity to do both.
Yeah, I can't remember who the quote was from. If I try and guess now, I'll screw it up. But there's the quote somewhere about, if you want to chop a tree down, go and spend 3 hours sharpening your axe and then 1 hour chopping the tree down. And I often find that when I go hiking or I go out into the African bush, where I am in South Africa now, that disconnection from everything and just that forces you to be aware of the world about you. Because if you're hunting, you can't just blunder around blindly. You've got to be quite selective about it. But then also when you stop, just allowing your mind to kind of wander a bit and process yesterday's win or yesterday's loss or whatever it might well be, it just brings me back as a balanced, nicer human being at the end of it.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I think it's good. It's like I've said, it's just it's incredible what it'll do. And maybe some people, you have to have something like that in your life that balances you out, that gets you back to center, that lets you reflect on things. Like you said, maybe it's after a tough loss and you're able to put things in perspective a little bit. And now you go back to work and you're ready to go forward again. Or if it's after a big win and you're able to come back down to equal. And it's just, for me, with my faith and it's hard not to just get outside and be thankful for this creation. It's incredible. And really for, your mind and your body is just, obviously you have some type of itch that you enjoy that. But even if you're not a hunter or fisherman, but I believe every single person needs to find a way to just get outside, fresh air, getting away from all the busyness. I would encourage you to, go on a walk or run and put your phone down and just let it all sink in, be aware of your surroundings and see what it does for your mental state.
That awareness is critical if you're doing anything in a high performance environment, because as you well know, the slightest loss of composure from a coach can send players into a flat spin that they get very confused. But equally, as a player, I'd imagine that awareness of where the whitetail may well be also is an awareness of where the opposition players are coming from and what they're doing as you're busy trying to go and perform your role on the field.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's the awareness of, really both examples that you used, I enjoy where when you're in the woods, it's, your awareness. I love the fact that, I love being able to share the woods with your friends too, but I love being able to just go and be by yourself, and try to figure something out. And like you said, whether it's trying to harvest an animal and just the using your mind to try to figure it out. And usually they have a pretty better idea of what you're doing than you do. And it's the same thing in sport. You got to figure it out. So it's just, I think a great example was, now I live here. We bought, in Carbondale where the university is, we bought a little over 50 acres right around our house. And so I'm able to just go out with a busy schedule. It's been the best thing to ever happen to me, is because I can walk outside my house or my garage and be in a deer stand in a 3-4 minute walk and wow. Have access to, and we live on a little pond. We can catch bass and crappie and be right there. But we came back and I had some friends down about a month or so ago, and we had a little deer camp, and just our excitement and talking about all this and where we're going to go and moving a stand and doing all this, figuring it out. And my wife could just hear the excitement, and she's just like, man, I've got to find a hobby that gets me excited as you guys are sitting here talking about hunting, but it is, it's just, it's something that gets you going. And it's more than just, it's a little bit of everything. It's stillness, it's awareness, it's just being out there accomplishing something, but then also the game involved of hunting and fishing too is it's difficult too. It's not just an easy task. So it gives you something to shoot for.
Especially because you do a fair bit of bow hunting. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I love to do the most.
And so I last went hunting in August this year and with a rifle. And what struck me is with a rifle, you can be 300 or 400 yards away and take a clean shot and take out a large buck headshot, not without any real problem. Yet with bow hunting, you've kind of got to get up close and personal to the deer. And that adds a whole new level of complexity, right?
No, it does. It's incredible. The whitetails are so smart. If you're not playing the wind right, I'm talking about, killing a mature whitetail, and it's just the excitement, and anybody that's hunted whitetails very long has got, some extreme letdown, some heartbreak stories of being in the stand, and because you have to have them so close, so you feel like you're so close, and then they might get your wind, or you might mess up as you're drawing back or whatever it is, or they've got you pegged and it just didn't work out, but you were so close, but you weren't able to get it done with a bow. That's what is exciting about bow hunting, is it's just, there's got to be some luck involved. Now there's a lot of luck involved, but a lot of these guys that I'm, Cam Haynes and the guys that do this, that manage the land and do it the right way and really figure them out and have them patterned. I mean, there's some skill involved to it too. And so that's what intrigued me, without playing anymore, coaching, but it also gives me something that, I'm still learning. I'm still like a baby in all this. That's why I love getting on, shows and listen to these podcasts and try to learn, because I just have this itch. I'm such a competitor that like, I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to kill a big mature whitetail, and there's the game involved in the competition is big.
Yeah. So just while you're there, come on, tell me about the one that got away. There must be one that like keeps you awake at night on occasions, the if only one.
Oh, there's plenty, like my dad would probably be laughing if he hears this podcast, and there's been plenty with me that have got away. There really has. I mean, I've probably, that's what keeps you coming back though. It's kind of like, it's kind of like golf. I mean, it's frustrating, but it's fun. But as soon as you hit those few good shots that just feel right, it's like, this is why I play, man. I can be a lot better. And, when everything lines up in the woods and it works out the way it should, and you're able to harvest an animal and that feeling, that's why I like deer hunting. Like my dad, he'd rather go out and go waterfowl hunting. And I love to waterfowl hunt too. But there's just something about chasing after a whitetail that you're specifically going after really like one deer. And when you see that deer, he might have been a mystery for 6 months, and then boom, there he is in the woods, and the anticipation and him coming and then, the amount of heartbreak that comes with it. If it doesn't work out, you put in all that time, and then it's like maybe you miss, or like you said, like, the wind's bad or the wind changes and he gets a feeling you're there and he takes off. And it's like, man, is it going to be another 6 months? Is it going to be another year before I ever get a shot at an animal like that again? It's like right there. I mean, you got to find something in your life that makes your heart beat like it does me chasing after whitetails. Like I could go out, our season doesn't go out for about another 3.5 weeks bow hunting, and our season's about to start because we're playing a spring season now because of COVID. And if I go out and be like, okay, if there's a doe that comes by, I'm going to shoot it tonight for some meat, or maybe I'm going to give that deer away or whatever it is. Like my heart is beating. Now it is like, like the anticipation, the butterflies, that is all there. And that's what keeps me coming back. I don't know anything else in my life that really makes me do that. So it's like, man, it's incredibly fun for me. And I just really enjoy it.
I found the sensation very similar. You've got minutes to go of a team sport game, whether it's football, soccer, rugby, and you're the coach or one of the coaches, and you can't go on the field. You know that you could throw a ball, kick a ball pretty good if you had to, and yet you have very little control over really what your players are going to do. And you've just got to trust the fact that you've prepared them and yourself well enough for this moment. And yet it's a very similar sensation. Like your heart is for me, my heart's going in the same way. It's just like it's before you pull the trigger or let the arrow go. It's like the last few minutes of a game.
Totally. The same type of, and the same type of butterflies and, are there. That's what I mean. There's really nothing that gets me going like it does with sports, with football, with being on the sideline. And there is that I don't know if anxiety is the right word, but yeah, like you're trusting these players to go out there and you can't do it for them as much as sometimes you want to. But there is that anticipation and wanting, hoping that you prepared them well. But there is also nothing like what I'm sure, Robbie, you experienced too, is when it goes well and you win, that feeling that you get that's hard to explain to someone that's not been in that moment or doesn't really like that. Maybe they don't follow sports or they're not into sports, but it's hard to explain that to someone. They'd be like, okay, but to you, it's such a feeling of an accomplishment and knowing what went into that win, knowing all the sacrifice in the team and all of those things, man, it's such a great feeling. But it's also the same when it doesn't go well. That feeling of just like you've been punched in the gut. I find that parallel in the woods as well. When it all lines up and it goes well, that feeling of accomplishment and just, you just want to celebrate. And then when it doesn't, it's almost that same sick feeling that you get in your gut. And for me, and it's also the same way in like your preparation. If the things that you can control, you have to control. And it's the same in football and as a coach of the discipline and the taking care of the things that you can control, your work and the time you put in and all of those things. You don't want to look back and not succeed and know you could have done more. It's the same way with bow hunting. It's going to take, you got to practice. like, hey, I missed this shot. Well, have you ever practiced that shot? No. Okay. Well, don't have high expectations to make that great shot in the woods either. So I love that about it too. If you want to be a good bow hunter, you're got to practice, whether put in the time and getting your places ready to hunt, your stand placement, all those things. There's so many parallels that go. And just like in life, the thing that I think is just a discipline to want to be good. If you want to be great at something, you're going to have a discipline of putting in the work and practice to reap the rewards. And it's the same in hunting and fishing and the wildlife than it is in sport.
It's funny because so many outdoor people who do it as a hobby don't actually really practice or train for that weekend experience that they get. And I often say to people, Usain Bolt does 4 years worth of training for one 9-second sprint in the A final at the Olympics. Like, that's 4 years worth of training. And if you want to be as good as Usain Bolt at anything, you better go back to the training field, because that's where all the work starts.
Without a doubt. And I find myself I would put myself in that category this year a little bit better because of COVID. I've had some more time to everything being shut down. I've able to get out and do some more, but I'm so busy with my job. I'm a weekend guy too, or, hey, I'm going to get one day here in these 3 weeks to get to go hunting, or I get to, and so you feel a little bit, rushed, but it's like with anything in life, you have time. You've got to make some time. We're also distracted in our lives. I think when you do sometimes you've got to do an audit of your life. You got to do an inventory, like what's the most important thing to you, and then look back and is my training or is my lifestyle adding up to what I want to accomplish? And if it's not, then you got to make some adjustments. So there is. I mean, you got to. But you have to practice, or don't have high expectations, and there's also, that's what I love about, just being able to go for a run in the outdoors. You might not be hunting or anything like that, but there is still that just satisfying, just going out and opening up your eyes. For me, somebody asked me this I think I was on another interview. It's like, what's some non-negotiables like in your day that you look back and it's like, man, you had a great day, because usually these things happen in your day, and busy people can a lot of times put those things off. You have to make time for that. I tell my staff all the time, like, you got to get out of here. You've got to go do something that makes you happy, because the work's going to be here when you get back. You can manage your time. But for me, it's throwing on like a podcast or an Audible book, and it's going for a long run, whether it's 45, 50 minutes, maybe an hour for a long run. And I come back, I'm reset. Like, I feel better. There's just a sense of, if I can do that in a day, I can get outside, I can go for a run, I can come back, I'm better at what I'm doing. My work's going to be better than if I would have just stayed there for that 45 minutes and just kept dragging it out.
I often say to people, if you want to be world class at something, you probably have only got 2 things in your life you can actually focus on, and anything more than that will stop world class. But if you don't want to be Usain Bolt, the Olympic gold medalist, but you want to be flipping awesome at a bunch of things, there's probably only 5 things you can actually allow to eat into your time. And when you hit time 6, you end up in negative figures. What are like your 5 things, or 3 to 5 things that you say, this is me, and this is what I'm going to be flipping awesome at?
Yeah. Number one is, my family. I've learned that I have a 4 and 2-year-old little girls, and they'll be 5 and 3. And so my wife and my kids, I want to, number one, be a great husband, and I want to be a great dad, and same type of thing. I mean, it's if you let time take away from that, or you're trying to do a lot of other things, you're not going to be very good at those either. And so number one, that's where my time and my priorities with that is being a great husband and being a great dad. And then above all, loving God and being entrenched in our church and letting that lead our lives. My personal belief is that if that's not number one, then I'm not going to be a great husband. I'm not going to be a great dad. And so when I look back on things, I mean, I can be maybe whatever my success becomes as a coach. I would rather be a bad coach and a great dad, and I'd rather be a great dad and a bad coach and a bad hunter. And as long as I get those right, so that's where it starts. And there are a lot of times you want to get at. Maybe that'll change as they get older. But right now, they're so young, you don't want to miss out on a lot of those things. And especially, I pray that I think I got a couple girls that want to get outside, with is getting them out. Some of our best times have been on going on family hikes. We've gotten to do a lot of that. And so those two things. And then obviously my team, now that I'm not playing anymore, is just as a head coach at a Division I school, is the entire organization. A lot of the, my staff and their families, all of the 105 players that are on our team and their well-being, and then is taking care of this program. And then I would say that the other is trying to be good at it'd be exercise and being outside, being a hunter and fisherman. And I still got a long way to go with that. That's what I mean. I think that's what keeps me coming back the most. Is in hunting and fishing, is that I've always grown up being such a big competitor and having some success in football and basketball and those type of things is like what keeps driving me back is just that you're not always going to be successful in the outdoors hunting. Like there's a lot it's hunting, not killing, and it's you're going to go out there a lot of days and it's like, it's funny, you come back and it's like your wife's like, how'd it go? It's like, I didn't see any. It's like, you sat out there in the tree for 5 hours and didn't see anything. It's like, yeah, but it was still a good day to me, and I'm going to get in next time. And so I would say, those are 5 things that I would say really is who I am.
And it's interesting as I look at those things, all of those require you to be a lifelong student, like a lifelong student of God, a lifelong student of being a great husband and a great father. As we both know, coaching, there's a lifetime's worth of learning in how to be an incredible coach. And then the outdoors, like the moment you think you've mastered the outdoors, you have to accept the fact you haven't, because it'll slap you. How do you go about being a student for those things? Do you have a process, or is it just a feel-based thing, or what's your approach to developing yourself with those things?
Yeah, no, I believe that 100%. I mean, you are always learning. I think number one, you have to have a humbleness about yourself to know that you've got to get better and that you don't know everything. And that you have to have a position of like an open mind, an open heart of like, I am still learning. I have so much, that guy's better than than me. So I need to ask questions. And so I think it starts with a mindset of wanting to get better. You might be the leader, you might be, but there's somebody out there that's either older and wiser than you, and you need his wisdom, and you need to approach it that way to learn. And so even though I'm the head coach, I'm 35 years old, there's people on my staff that I recognize he might be better in this area than me, and I need to sit back and ask him questions and learn from him. And so I think it comes with that. So I'm constantly learning and trying to I think that you need to read, and you need to always be willing to make relationships with people, and know that it doesn't matter who you come across, you can learn something from them. It no matter what. I enjoy whenever people are in, or I might be in their home recruiting. It might be a dad or a grandpa of somebody that I'm recruiting their kid. And you got to be willing to ask questions and get things out of them. So I think that number one, it's of course it's a process. You've got to be committed to your process, understand what that process is. And number one, I think it's a position of humility. I think we talk about that all the time here. I think the greatest people, number one, sometimes humility is knowing that you need to get better. You look at Tom Brady in our sport, some of the guys that you look at Tom Brady. I mean, he's maybe the greatest quarterback of all time, won the most Super Bowls, those type of things. Or like you said, Pete Carroll. I mean, listen to some of the things, like he continues to push himself and learn and adapt, and each year is different. This year, COVID, brought that on all of us. And it doesn't matter how old of a coach you were, you've never had a playbook for COVID. So you had to be, calling and asking and, what are you doing? Oh, and being okay to not have the ego to have to pivot. Like, hey, we were doing this, but, I talked to somebody and they're doing it better. And you know what? That's the way we're going to do it too, because that's better than what I did. So I think it's a position of humility, starts with anything that, man, I can grow and get better to the end of time.
So here's my next question links into that. I've got 3 underpinning philosophies that I use in my work, regardless of whether it's soccer, field hockey, rugby, extreme kayaking, Olympic kayaking. And that's, and I'll tell you what mine are, because I really want to know what yours are when it comes to coaching. So I've got a philosophy around, everything that happens before the equals sign is more important than what happens afterwards. So the input is more relevant than the output. So my thing is, if you do the right inputs, the scoreboard takes care of itself. I've got a philosophy around the brain being the volume control to a player's ability. Get the brain right and you can turn that up. And then my last little philosophy is about being predictably unpredictable. I always want to be the coach who the opposing analysts are scratching their heads and saying, I honestly don't know what to tell the head coach and the players what to expect on Friday or Saturday, because I have no idea what they're going to bring to the table. And that makes you quite hard to beat. So I was wondering, what are your philosophies for being an incredible head coach?
Well, I think, and I'll hit on your last thing. I think the unpredictable thing is something to talk about. Number one is a position of humility, like I just said. I believe that you need. I believe what I talk about is, as a head coach, is like you have to have a heart to care. And so like it does start with that, is like you talked about the one soccer coach, and he might be going about it a different way. I would never go about it that way. I think that your staff and your players have to know that you deeply care about them on all levels. So you have to earn the trust. There's a lot of pillar words out there that we could have, like a coach talk, and these are the must things. But I believe it comes with a stance of a heart to care. Your culture is what you do every single day. Everybody wants to talk about your culture. Well, a lot of times I'm like, well, you got to come and visit us and just hang around the office and be out at practice to see what our culture is. I could give you a PowerPoint and show you these things that we say we do, but it's not our culture unless we're really living those things out. And so it comes from the top, a heart to care. Our staff is going to implement that culture if every day they know that I care about them, I care about their families, that we are our ultimate, what we have to do is win. But this is the process to get there, and that's where it starts to me. I think communication is number 2. I believe you got to be a unbelievable communicator. And this is something that I believe that I have to get better at, and that I always strive for ways to get better. I believe you got to have communicating is having the uncomfortable conversations as soon as possible. And that's what a lot of leaders shy away from, because it's awkward. It's tough. It's, you don't want to hurt someone's feelings. You don't want to hear something you don't want to hear. But it is your job to communicate clearly. And them being able to have the, willingness and you setting that where they can communicate to you, that you don't have a bunch of yes men under you, whether that's your leadership council on your team made up of your captains. They have to be able to know that, hey, I can come in and communicate this to Coach Hill. This is the pulse of the team. This is what's going on. You need to know this. And them not having like, well, we can't go and step into Coach Hill's office. And the same thing to go with your staff. You've got to clearly communicate the standards and the culture to them. They have to live it out. But there has to be an everyday line of communication, clear, open, and honest. Have the most difficult conversations as soon as possible. And then a discipline to everything in your life. I believe that's a word we would all be like, well, how you got to be good. Well, you got to have a discipline. And, it's doing the routine. I believe that, in your line of work, like the answers out there, like the answers to the test are out there. They are in football. We can study these things. We can study the coaches. I'm looking around you got John Wooden and these coaches. That people have been doing it for a long time. And it's like that in anything in life, in diet, in exercise. You're training like kayaking or if you're a rower, like how am I going to get, well, you can get a coach and you can know how to get there. But the problem is the daily disciplines on the small things, the routine things of having the discipline to do them consistently over time separates the greatest people from the average people. Is just that daily discipline. And I go back because I've gotten into this a little bit more when I run and your diet, like a diet is the perfect example of like how great you have to be, because it's everybody knows the right, what it takes. Like they know, should I eat this? Should I not? And, but there's excuses out there. There's, it's like, I'm going to cave in and I'm going to do this. Now, if you want to lose weight or you want to get in great shape, like the plan is there, but the problem is there's always distractions. There's always an excuse. There's always a night out with your friends, or it's just, you let your guard down and then the diet goes to crap. And so it's like that in sport, especially. It's going to take some discipline. It's going to have to take saying no. It's going to have to sacrifice certain things to get the goal that you want. And what I've found is there's few people that want to be great at that. And that's why they're great, is they have the discipline to set some parameters in their life, because they're chasing after that no matter what. There has to be some God-given ability and talent in there. But there's a disciplineness that goes with that as coaches and players.
And we've both seen players and outdoor people who maybe have the talent, but they don't have the discipline. And often they get left behind by the person who's got 50% talent, but they've got the work ethic to just keep plugging away and doing the hard yards every single day. And they often end up at the top of the game, don't they?
Without a doubt, and we talk about that in recruiting, and it's tough. Sometimes you want to, and I'm sure, I read that in maybe it's a free agent, or how they do it in rugby and in soccer is like, well, this guy's got so much potential. He's got so much talent. Let's get him here. And then things just don't go well. They're it's not good for your culture. They might be late and not putting in the work. And you see you're making adjustments to your culture to let them kind of slide by, and it hurts the rest of your team. Where if you go and get the guy that's got maybe a little bit less talent, but is just outworking everybody, he's a joy to be around. Is like those guys are going to win so much more of the time, consistently over time. And it's hard. It is. The discipline. It is hard. It's not easy. So making your way to the top is not going to be easy.
I often find as well that the players who've got, or in anything in life, it doesn't matter whether it's business, outdoors, sport, the people who've got the work ethic and 50% talent often end up injured a lot less than the guys who've got the natural talent but not the work ethic. And I don't have any solid data as to why, but it is an observation. There seems to be a lot of broken, talented people around who just fall apart.
I agree. Yeah. And, because it's a discipline to stay healthy. I learned that as you get older is, you see some of these elite level professionals that spend so much time and energy on taking care of their body so they can be at their best. Being in the training room, you're going to have a good team or good player whenever he's completely healthy, but he's spending just as much time in the training room as if he was hurt because he's preparing his body to not be hurt. That's when you need to be in the training room. And, but that's not easy either, because you got to be here early. You got to do something that's like, it's a discipline of, whether it's stretching and it's in the ice tub and it's taking care of your body before and after a workout and it's recovery. And again, it just comes down to a lot of people say they want to be great. The answers are out there. The problem that gets in the way is the discipline to get there.
But before I wind this up, your eyes lit up with a big smirk when I mentioned being unpredictable. What does that mean for you, Southern Illinois?
Yeah, I think that and you talked about analytics, and we've gotten more and more into analytics. I believe it does make a great coach. I think there's a fine line between you want to be for us, we couldn't just come out and with a brand new game plan of things that our players haven't consistently gotten better at over time. We always talk about that. By the end of the season, you probably should know who we are and what we hang our hat on and what we're going to do because we've consistently done that. And we're going to out fundamental you and we're going to out discipline you. And that's how it is in the game of football. But you also have to have that as head coach. And I believe that some have it more than others. And probably the great ones do, is that those few things in the game that are unpredictable that might go against the analytics. Like, man, they got you pegged here. Maybe it's 3rd and 6 and this is what he's going to do. And you don't do it. That's what you've got to have a few wrinkles in every game plan. And if not, you might not be putting your team in the best position to get a win. And so I do believe that you've got to have that inside you a little bit as a head coach, and because you're the only one that on game day can make those decisions. It's easy as an assistant to be like, man, I would have faked that kick or I would have done that. And it's like, well, when you're the one that's standing there and has to answer, it might be a little bit different. But I do believe you got to have a little bit of that in you.
I often watch some of the boxers who've got shorter reaches, and you see some of them who they bring their opponent in closer and closer, freeing up their own body to take body shots. And the opponent comes in and all they're really doing is suckering them in to get them to get cocky. And then they can go and use their shorter reach for a headshot and knock the guy out. And I think if you can lull in an opposition to believing that the next play you make is going to be X, and actually you go and give them Z or Z, you become pretty hard to play against when they don't know what's coming at them next.
Yep. No, without a doubt. And football is a lot like that. You might give them a formation of a play that you've ran consistently, but you got to have a wrinkle off of that. You're enticing them to want them to think this is what play is coming, and then you run something off of that play and to get somebody open, or you've always got to have something, a fake off of what you've prepared them to want to think, and that's what was fun about football.
That's incredible. I've been playing, just as a little thing for you, I've been playing with rugby recently. So in rugby, when a player's in the air, he's not allowed to be touched by a opposition player. If he is touched, then it's either a yellow card if he's brought down safely, or if he's brought down unsafely, it's a red card, and that means the player's lost for the rest of the game. And, unlike football, the rugby guys don't have any body armor or protection. It's just like skin and bones, and that's a lot of it. And,
they're tough.
So I've been playing with gymnastics with some of the players, because gymnasts seem to have the ability to launch themselves in the air and almost hang there for larger than normal amounts of time. And so if I can get a rugby player with a ball in hand moving forwards, but getting more airtime, he becomes progressively more unplayable. And like the likelihood of us getting a yellow card for the opposition or the opposition picking up a yellow card, like lifts up the entire time. And it's just, it's part of my fascinating bit of team sports. How can you manipulate that rule book? Cool. So the last question. You said that tomorrow is the day where you get to go and make sure you get all the players you want for 2021 and head off into preseason and all those things. What can we expect from Southern Illinois football in 2021?
Well, I'm excited about this team. I feel like this is the best team that we've had here. We got to play one game this fall, and we won against a nationally ranked opponent. And we had a good season last year, but we feel like we've got a lot of returning players. A team that that's been here. It's a veteran team with great leadership that's been around here for now. A lot of these guys are fifth-year seniors that have developed over time in our program. And so we're excited about a team. I think we've put together a team that can legitimately now not with expectations of themselves and not just hoping. And so I'm excited about 2021 and what we've built here. So those are the expectations for us, is to compete for a championship.
Woo! I look forward to following it. That's going to be incredible. Nick, I just want to take 2 seconds just to recognize you and thank you. There's not many people on planet Earth who can simplify their life to be passionate about a few things and really go and pursue them to a level of excellence. And the more Nick Hills there are around to tread a path to show people there is another way to be happier, more successful, and maybe even more peaceful. The more of you there is, the better the world will be. So thank you for everything that you show your players, you show the university, and you show all of us who get in the outdoors. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
It's a pleasure, sir. And next time I'm in the US, I want to come and check out a few training sessions, if that's all right.
Anytime. We'll roll out the red carpet. You're welcome.
Cool.